What's up, guys? So today I want to tell you a little bit about my first deal that I did in New Hampshire. This was a crazy deal. Probably one of the most memorable deals that I did. So I'm sourcing deals in New Hampshire. I can't talk. So, my name's Josh. This is hard, bro. I want to talk about a deal, the first deal that I ever did in New Hampshire. This is when I first got into the New Hampshire market. I came from Virginia. And I basically jumped into this market not knowing what I was doing. I actually got into the market from Virginia. I networked online. Everybody I knew in the market prior to getting there, I had never even met in person before. But moving forward, I started sourcing deals using ringless voicemail and voice broadcasts. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's just a different marketing strategy. Ringless voicemail and voice broadcast is silent messages that get dropped in your phone or the phone actually rings. There's a press one transfer option. Anyways, so I get a hold of a seller, older gentleman, probably in the 60s, and he's got this house, right? This house is old. I don't remember the year. I think it was a 1940 build, and he's interested in selling. I don't know how interested he is. Sounds pretty interested over the phone. So I set the appointment. I go out to the property, and this thing's a mess. It's a complete wreck. It needs like $100,000 in work. Total gut job on the inside. Literally needs everything. The outside is completely ruined. It needs lead abatement. It needs a new septic system. I mean, it's just a mess. So, I'm walking through the house, and I'm like, wow, this is a big job. So, we start talking about price. I start negotiating with him. Basically, the dude's willing to accept any offer that I make him. And I think I offered him around, what was it, 52? I think I offered him $52,000 for the property, and he took it like that. I mean, no questions asked. This man wanted to move. He wanted to move to Florida to be with his cousin. She was sick, and he needed to be with her. So the dude was super motivated, wanted to sell the house, agreed to the offer that I made him. We put the property under contract, and I'm going back and I'm doing the numbers. Mind you, this is one of my first deals. I'm new to the game still, and I fucked up. I estimated the rehabs wrong by about $12,000, and what I missed was the septic field. I didn't ask about the septic field. I didn't ask questions about any of that. And when I brought it up to the investor, because I was working with this investor who I kind of shot deals to before I had them under contract, he was already interested in the property. So he asked me about that. That rang a bell. I asked the seller. Turns out the thing hasn't been replaced in like 30 years. So, you're gonna put $100,000 into a property. That's probably something you should do if you're gonna flip the house anyways. You're not gonna, make a brand new house and not be able to flush the toilets. That's just ridiculous. So, I go back to the seller and I'm nervous. I'm like, fuck, how am I gonna tell this guy I have to drop the price like $12,000, So, there's this book, right? It's called Never Split the Difference. Let me grab it. This is a weapon for anybody in the real estate game. If you haven't read it, highly recommend getting it. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Absolutely amazing. So what I did was use labels. Looks like, seems like, sounds like. And this is how I got this guy to drop $12,000 in like 2 minutes. Hey man, it really looks like you want to get to Florida to be with your family. And you pause. And by doing this, you create some awkward silence by, labeling the feeling that this person has, and you just let the silence happen. It's really awkward at first, especially if you've never done it before, but it works. So I said, hey man, it really looks like you want to get to Florida. He agrees. I shut up, I let the silence work his magic, and he agrees. Yeah, I do want to get to Florida. All right, that's awesome. It seems like you don't really have the time or money to fix the property up yourself. What's he gonna do? He's gonna agree, because you're right. He doesn't have the time or money to fix the property up. He's an older gentleman, and to be honest, he really doesn't care about the property, right? So it looks like, seems like, and it sounds like, I forgot what I said it sounded like. This is like almost 2 years ago. It sounds like you really want to get to Florida, and I want to help you do that. But there's some things that we need to talk about, and I want to apologize up front, because this is totally my fault. I have to renegotiate. $52,000 is not going to work. He just looks at me, the gears are turning. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. And I know I'm about to drop an anchor on this man and say, look, I totally forgot to estimate the septic system into the rehab costs. It's going to cost around $12,000 to replace this thing. So the most I can offer you is $40,000. 20 seconds, he looks at me. He says, okay. That was it. He just said, okay. So looks like, seems like, sounds like, and I got the deal. I rewrote the purchase and sale contract for $40,000, and that was it. I got it under contract for $40,000. I dropped it $12,000 in like less than a minute using these labels. Absolutely amazing. So I get this thing to the title company. Now, mind you, this is a title company I've never worked with before, and this was a huge mistake on my part. Always vet the title company if you've never worked with them before. Coming from the Virginia market, wholesaling is abundant there. Everybody wholesales. I mean, you can't even drive down the street without seeing a sign that says we buy homes for cash. So the title companies there are very familiar with assignment contracts. That is not the case in New England. So here I am in New Hampshire. I have this title company that I think knows what an assignment contract is. I did call them on the phone. I said, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I work with assignment contracts. I assign the property to an end buyer. They say, oh yeah, we do those all the time. It seemed like they knew exactly what I was talking about. So mind you, I've never been there in person. I've only talked to them on the phone. So I get the purchase and sale contract and I bring it to the title company. They hold on to it for like 2 weeks. And during this time, I'm getting interested buyers. I'm putting it out on my Facebook page and I got it up on my website and I'm sending out email blasts and I'm networking with the cash buyers that I have. And each person that came out, it was just too big of a job for them. It was right before winter hit. This is $100,000 rehab, mind you. And holding costs go up during the winter. Nobody was willing to take it on at this time. So I put it on Craigslist and I get an email from an older gentleman who's in his 60s. He says, hey, I want to come see the property with my partner. All right, cool. I set the appointment. The gentleman comes out to the property and he's not an investor. He's a home buyer. This is a guy who's been saving his money for probably the past 30 years. He's got a ton of cash in the bank and he just wants to buy a house for cheap. Perfect investment. The man walks to the house and he's gung-ho. The whole time we're walking through, oh, I can do this to the property. I can do that. I can live in this room while I'm fixing that one. The man loves it. Matter of fact, he loves it so much, he's like, I want it. How much do you want for it? I'm like, all right, I got it on a contract at $40,000 at 70% minus repairs. I can assign this thing at 60. So I tell him 62. Everybody's always wanting to negotiate. So I tell him $62,000. He's like, all right, let me talk to my partner. They go to their van. They come out and they say, would you do 59? Hey, 59 is good with me. That's a $19,000 spread. I'm happy. He's happy. He signs the assignment contract. He's nervous. He's about to invest all his life savings into this property from a guy he just met. He's worried about the contract and, the title company. I say, look, man, I get it. You're nervous. You have every right to be nervous here. But just know the title company holds on to everything. I don't hold on to any money. All of this is going straight to the title company as soon as it's signed. So you don't have anything to worry about. You can even go to the title company and make sure everything's good. So that's what he does. He signs the assignment contract. I send it to title and he needs to go submit his earnest money down. I think I asked him for like $2,500 down. Good faith deposit saying he's not going to back out of the deal. Because if he did, that would screw me, the seller. It would just be bad. So he goes to the title company with $2,500 and he says, hey, I'm here to submit earnest money for this property. Title company looks at him like he's crazy. They have no idea what's going on. This is a disaster. It's a complete disaster. So he calls me. He's like, hey man, the title company says, that they have the purchase and sale, but they don't have the assignment contract. And it's a big mess. And I live like 5 minutes away from this place. So I go down there and they're completely incompetent. They have no idea what's going on. They don't know what an assignment contract is. They don't even know if it's legal in the state. This is what they're telling me in front of the buyer. So she looks at me, this is the title agent, and she says, so you're trying to sell him the property for more than you bought it for? I'm like, yes, that is how a wholesale deal works. You told me you knew what these things were. Nobody's on the same page. Now the buyer knows I'm making $19,000 profit on the property. Luckily, he doesn't care. He just wants to make sure things are legit. So she's no help, and she's like, well, you're gonna have to sit down with the attorney back there. I'm like, oh great, here we go. So I sit down with the attorney and he doesn't even know if this thing is legal or if he can do it. He's like, I gotta call this person. And I'm like, well, how long is this gonna take? We got stuff to do. We gotta move because I gotta close this thing in like 2 weeks. He said, well, I can get back to you in 5 days. 5 days, not gonna work for me. I'm under the impression that these people know what they're doing. It's completely unprofessional on their part. It was my fault for not vetting the title company out properly, but they're still being unprofessional. There's no reason she should have said any of this stuff in front of the buyer, and I'm fed up. So I get on the phone and I start calling title companies. I'm calling 3 or 4 of them to see if I can get this stuff transferred over to somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's exactly what I do. I end up finding a title company who says they knew what they were doing. I go in person this time to say, hey, here's the contracts that I use. Here's the purchase and sale. Here's the assignment. This is how it works. Are you familiar with this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. Great. So I call the other title company. I said, hey, I want to terminate the contracts with you guys. So that's what I do. I terminate the contracts with them. I move it over to a different title company, and finally things start, falling in place, and we're good. We get to the closing table. The deal closes. I make $19,000 profit. This gentleman gets a $200,000 house. That's the ARV. The ARV in the house is like $200,000. He gets it for $59,000. He's not an investor, so he's not going to turn around and flip the thing and make a huge profit. But as he lives in it and he flips one room at a time, he's building equity in the home. 10, 15 years from now, he's going to have a lot of equity in the house. So it's a win-win for everybody. So this was probably one of the most memorable deals I had. I'm not even going to go down the path of how the seller was like a conspiracy theorist and he thought the title companies were in on it with me to steal his money. He was a little bit crazy, I'm not going to lie. But I pushed past that. Every single time he had an objection, I was there to reassure him that he could trust me and that we were going to get this thing to the closing table no matter what. And that's exactly what I did. Tons of work. I probably spent a total of 10 hours on the phone with this guy over the span of the next 2 weeks. The hard work paid off. So moral of the story is vet your title company out properly before you decide to do business with them.